Same with diabetic, what is the problem and how is the control? If the control is good, it's a normal patient. Don't worry just because the patient is a known diabetic. What is the workable range you need to know, and what to do and what not to do, when it is a problem and how to handle it, and some things about insulin. Above 50 milligram per deciliter and below 180 is the working range of blood sugar in which you can do reasonably safe dentistry. But some patients will start behaving funny in about range of 55, 56. So this is the range, and in this range if you are working, you are safe. So just have that small tiny machine. Now it costs about 2,000, 2,500 the most in the clinic, so that you document that you have worked in a good range. It is the sugar at the moment. It is not what was the highest PP sugar of this patient in this last decade. It's not that. Remember that the diabetic patient is a problem for hypoglycemia. That's a life-threatening situation, and that is another lecture. I have already delivered the lecture for about in the last thing about managing crisis. Hypertension comes in that. Diabetics get a slightly raised situation about infection. Healing may be delayed a little. Steroids should not be used. NSAIDs should not be used as long as possible. Paracetamol is a very good painkiller. Avoid NSAID in diabetics because it interferes. Implants for diabetics, do it after you have at least about 100 successful implants in the market. Once you have a good number of successful cases, one failure doesn't matter that much. Don't put your first implant in a patient with uncontrolled diabetes, because everybody has got implant failures. I have got plenty. But I have got plenty and I have got thousands of implants successful there in the mouth. So that's an advantage. Implants can fail. Your natural tooth failed. That's why you have to put implants. Remember, these are the patients who can get silent myocardial infarction. They can get an MI without chest pain. So cardiac history becomes important for diabetic patients. And you know the real status of diabetes by HbA1c, not by fasting and PP. Remember, it's criminal to tell a chronic diabetic or hypertensive to go get things corrected and come back for extraction for an infected painful tooth. Because both these conditions, chronic diabetes and hypertension, can be made worse by an acute or chronic infection harbored in the mouth. So that's a bad prescription where you just try to shrug your responsibility. You better know what is going on. Hypo and hyperthyroid, there are plenty of confusing things, but all you need to know is the last line. No emergency drugs are used to manage thyroid disease in dental office. No emergency drug are required for that. Patient with hyperthyroidism is difficult to treat due to their heightened anxiety and irritability. Clinical manifestation, mostly you know, but we are not going to get into it because not important. Because the patients you actually would see will be only people who are asymptomatic, just raised TSH. There's nothing to worry about it. Zero. Lastly, on the endocrine section is pregnancy. What are the problems? Increased uterine mass causes compression of IVC, leads to penestasis. We all know when they're made to lie in this typical form in the dental chair, there are problems, but that is the problem of third trimester. Hypercoagulable status, which is actually working in our favor. Generalized immunosuppression is there because one system is supplying immunity for two individuals. Increased mucosal fragility. I didn't know it before, I read it up somewhere, that actually when you stitch and do things, you better take bigger bites and all. Just a small trivia, just mentioned there. And there can be hyperventilation and hyperventilation related fitting in pregnant patients due to progesterone. Again another chart, again you don't have to go through everything. Just see the blue ones. These are the medicines you should not use in pregnancy. Tetracycline, we hardly use nowadays. I have to come to about every time to ask for Resticlin. They are the only people who have left. And you should thank them because tetracycline is a fantastic medicine in oral ulcers. It's wonderful. A government made tetracycline into such a group where producing and marketing tetracycline is almost a loss-making affair, and all companies stop preparing tetracycline formulations. You will normally, fortunately, not get tetracycline most of the time, so tetracycline is automatically out of the list. Chlorantraniliprole we don't use anymore anyway. But these are the things that you should not use. Among the analgesic oxycodone, we hardly ever get hydrocodone, propoxyphene, pentazocine. Out of these, propoxyphene is the only one, proximon. This is the only one which we often use, sometimes use. You use it in pregnancy with caution and lactation with caution. It is not contraindicated, but preferable to avoid. Aspirin, ibuprofen, naproxen, which are NSAIDs, not in third trimester. There are things to do with the actual parturition time circumstances in the gateway in the third trimester. So do not use NSAIDs. Lactating patients as well, lactating mothers should also not get NSAIDs. So this is a small list of restrictions. Out of the antifungals, fluconazole, used with caution. Try to avoid. Let the you write a prescription that there is oral fungal infection. I would like to go for fluconazole and send the patient to the gynecologist to prescribe it. They sometimes prescribe things which are in much bigger dose, and they are quite happy to do it. Let them prescribe it. So avoid fluconazole in pregnancy and both. Mepivacaine, bupivacaine. Bupivacaine still is available quite well in India. We use in certain circumstances, but I don't think bupivacaine is used very often in routine general dentistry. We use it for a lengthy period of analgesia and anesthesia in certain areas, like after harvesting our ideal craft. But it's not so important for general dentistry. Nitrous oxide, again, in India there is the practice of Entonox, that is 50-50 nitrous oxide and oxygen for plane of sedation. Again, in India it's not a very common practice, so that is another thing to be remembered about. Barbiturates and benzodiazepines, no. Okay? It is divided into 3 trimesters, so you must know what are the 3 trimesters. Conception to 14th week is first trimester, organogenesis happens during that time, so limit dental treatment to periodontal prophylaxis and emergency treatments only. Avoid routine radiographs. So there is a big slice, but only few things to remember. In second trimester, things are better. Organogenesis is complete, and therefore risk to the fetus is low. Elective dental care is safe. Finally, third trimester, 29th week until childbirth. Although there is no risk to fetus during third trimester, the pregnant mother may experience an increasing level of discomfort. So, and you can see things like, suddenly this patient becomes diabetic. This is called gestation diabetes mellitus. PIH, pyogenic granulomas are common in the mouth. Position is the main issue in this circumstance. So you avoid mostly, but if you cannot, then remember about the position, how you place the patient. This situation is very pro-coagulable, which is something to our favor.